But I mean, like all those plays are plays we work on after practice. So like everybody knows their role, everybody knows what they're gonna do, and um, a lot of the time the credit doesn't go to the person inbounding the ball. Like that was a tough pass, like skip pass, somebody on the ball and across the court, and Cody almost got a fingertip on it. Kind of worked out perfectly that she went for the steal, and it's honestly probably the most wide open shot I had all night. So my hands got a little clammy, but still went in, I guess.
Track the spin of the basketball from 31 feet away as the final seconds tick off the clock, and the outcome hangs by a thread. But before revealing the incredible shot that sent the crowd into a frenzy, it's important to understand the unexpected sideline drama that nearly prevented this moment from ever unfolding. The Indiana Fever stormed out to a commanding lead, locking down defensively and limiting the Washington Mystics to only 29 first-half points. It appeared the game was headed for a comfortable victory, but basketball momentum can shift in an instant, and Washington refused to go away quietly. Everything unraveled for Indiana in the third quarter. Their defensive discipline disappeared. Communication broke down, and the offense stalled into repetitive one-on-one possessions. To make matters even more difficult, the Fever's catalyst spent extended time on the bench after picking up early fouls. Caitlin Clark's rhythm was disrupted as foul trouble kept her sidelined for much of the second period. Managing foul issues is as much a mental battle as a physical one, and try to regain control against an opponent gaining confidence can quickly become overwhelming. The Mystics capitalized on every opening, steadily chipping away until the once comfortable advantage had vanished completely. What had looked like a runaway win transformed into a hard-fought battle, with the threat of a crushing collapse becoming increasingly real. Indiana had to discover new ways to stay alive. As their superstar worked through the challenges of foul trouble, the team urgently needed timely defensive stops to withstand the mounting pressure.
Huge lead. Yeah, I mean, I think like you always like think about ways you want to get better, and we certainly crumbled a little bit, and we would have liked to definitely have played the third a little bit better and not let them beat back in the game, but this is a hard league to play in, and you take a win in whatever way you can get it. And when we go down the line here, and nobody's going to look back and be like, oh, well, the Fever probably should have lost this game but made a buzzer beater. No, it's a W. Like, it's a win for us. So
take a closer look at this sequence unfolding right in the heart of the opponent's momentum surge. Big moments are not always defined by logo threes or highlight reel shots. Sometimes, halting a devastating run comes down to grit, effort, and doing the dirty work that rarely earns headlines. A loose ball is deflected wildly into backcourt, creating instant chaos. Shakira Austin launches herself across the floor in a desperate attempt to secure possession. But the Fever refuse to back down, battling for every inch through sheer determination. Amid the frantic scramble, Caitlin Clark comes away with the basketball. Rather than slowing the pace and resetting the offense from the perimeter, she immediately surveys the floor the instant control is established. Watch how quickly her eyes lift, processing every moving piece in a split second. She recognizes Kelsey Mitchell racing up the right side, gaining a crucial step on her defender in transition. Without the slightest hesitation, Clark delivers a perfectly timed pass directly into Mitchell's path. Mitchell gathers the ball at full speed, absorbs the contact that follows, maintains her balance, and powers through for a difficult finish at the rim. That sequence represents winning basketball in its purest form. It is a type of intelligent, selfless play that can completely disrupt an opponent's rhythm and bring an explosive run to an abrupt end. Even while dealing with frustration and inconsistent minutes caused by foul trouble, Clark's elite awareness and playmaking instincts never faded. This fast break connection proved to be a pivotal moment, helping keep the Fever within striking distance just as the Washington Mystics were threatening to seize total control of the game.
Plays that's not for Caitlin, Stephanie. Or did the Herb Simon family, Pacer Entertainment, say, you know what? How about we let Austin Kelly run the offense, Stephanie? Because that's what it looked like. It looked like Austin Kelly is about to fix this damn offense because
Now shift ahead to the closing moments of the fourth quarter. The atmosphere inside the arena is electric and increasingly hostile, but pay attention to Indiana's defensive approach. The Fever have gone with a smaller lineup, a strategy that demands quicker rotations constant communication, and players covering significantly more ground on every possession. Caitlin Clark is navigating the pressure while carrying 5 personal fouls. One mistimed reach or unnecessary gamble would immediately end her night. Despite that razor-thin margin for error, she remains highly active on the perimeter, providing valuable help defense and contributing to critical stops as Indiana fights to stay in the game. Meanwhile, Washington continues attacking the interior with relentless aggression. Lexi Hull finds herself out of position defensively and is whistled for a costly late clock foul, sending the Mystics to the free throw line at a pivotal moment. They capitalize on the opportunity, knocking down the shots needed to move ahead in the final seconds. Indiana responds by calling timeout, bringing the entire team together for one last opportunity. And this is where the story takes a surprising turn. Although head coach Stephanie White remains on the sideline, the offensive play sheet is placed in different hands. Assistant coach Austin Kelly steps into the spotlight, taking control of the huddle and drawing up the possession that could decide everything. With the outcome hanging in the balance, the responsibility for the final play shifts dramatically. The Fever players focus intently on Kelly's instructions as he maps out the strategy on the whiteboard. On the opposite bench, Washington organizes its defense, fully anticipating that the inbound pass will eventually find its way to the most dangerous shooter on the court.
And I think sometimes we take great players and certainly generational talent for granted. And you know, what she did was incredible for us. She's going to have many more moments like that. I know she is. And we needed this one tonight.
And then, Keelan, was it hard to stay in a rhythm when you were sitting out most of the second quarter?
Yeah, I mean, no player.
Bro, why does it seem like Stephanie White is not happy that Caitlin? Like, bro, I'm finna rewind some. Listen to her talk about.
The game reaches its defining moment as the ball is inbound from the sideline with everything on the line. Washington immediately applies intense pressure, aggressively taking away the first option in the Fever set. Pay close attention to Indiana's spacing on the floor. The original action drawn up during the timeout is effectively neutralized by Washington's defensive switches, but Austin Kelly's carefully constructed play includes a crucial secondary option built into the design. The inbounder quickly recognizes Caitlin Clark breaking free on the weak side and delivers a daring cross-court pass over the defense. Washington reacts in desperation, scrambling to recover. Jade Melbourne nearly changes the outcome entirely, lunging into the passing lane and coming within inches of a game-saving steal. But her gamble falls just short. The pass sails cleanly beyond her outstretched fingertips and finds Clark in rhythm, standing 31 feet away from the basket. Watch the details of her technique. Her feet are already set before the ball settles into her hands. She sinks into her stance, generating power from her lower body before flowing effortlessly into her shooting motion. Everything about the release looks smooth and controlled. The basketball arcs high through the air as the entire arena seems to freeze in anticipation. For a brief moment, time stands still. Then the shot drops cleanly through the net as the buzzer echoes throughout the building. In a twist few could have predicted, the most open look Clark received all evening arrived on the game's biggest possession, and she calmly delivered the dagger that secured an unforgettable victory for the Indiana Fever.
He did a really great job there in the second quarter, like built us a lead, got stops. I think they only had 29 points or something like that at halftime. I'm not really sure, but maybe I'm wrong. No, I'm right. Good memory. But, I think you just find a way to keep battling and keep persevering.
This wasn't merely another buzzer beater destined for a highlight package. The sequence revealed a much deeper storyline unfolding within the Indiana Fever organization. During the post-game press conference, Stephanie White acknowledged that assistant coach Austin Kelly was the architect behind the game-winning play. That revelation carries significant weight. At a time when the team's primary offensive approach was struggling to create quality opportunities for its franchise superstar, the coaching staff turned to an alternative vision crafted by one of White's assistants. The decision itself speaks volumes. Take a closer look at how Indiana manipulated the floor spacing during that decisive possession. Rather than relying on the familiar high pick-and-roll action that Washington had successfully disrupted throughout the night, this set introduced a completely different wrinkle. The design used intelligent off-ball movement and strategic misdirection to influence the defense exactly where Indiana wanted to go. By drawing Washington's attention toward the strong side, the Fever effectively encouraged an overload that left the weak side exposed. What followed was not the result of improvisation or luck, but the execution of a carefully constructed counter designed to exploit the defensive tendencies Washington had shown all game long. In the biggest moment of the night, Indiana abandoned predictability, embraced creativity, and generated the clean look their superstar needed to deliver the final blow.
Thought she did a great job. Some key rebounds, and we play through her a lot. I think her decision making was good as well. So, I think for all of us, it's just we're continuing to grow together. It was big for us the way that we lifted one another up in those huddles, and they were all talking positivity into one another, and that's what it's going to take to continue to build our connectedness.
And Lexi, what was like being spoken about in that third quarter huddle when you guys kind of like snapped that big lead? Just kind of what was the message?
When Jade Melbourne made the aggressive decision to jump the passing lane in search of a game-saving steal, there was no secondary layer of defensive support position behind her. That detail transformed the possession into a textbook example of exploiting defensive tendencies through strategic design. It was a coaching masterstroke that weaponized Washington's aggressiveness against itself, while also raising an important question about the Indiana Fever's long-term offensive identity. Could this moment signal the beginning of a permanent philosophical change? For much of the game, Caitlin Clark battled relentless physical defense, repeatedly finding herself on the wrong side of foul calls that many observers believed warranted stronger objections from the coaching staff. The apparent absence of consistent sideline advocacy seemed to fuel her frustration as the contest unfolded. Yet, when the game reached its defining possession, operated within a newly crafted half-court action, Clark immediately looked comfortable and composed. Special talents often discover ways to create their own opportunities, but exceptional coaching places those players in situations where success becomes significantly more attainable. That final sequence may have represented far more than a dramatic finish. It could ultimately become the turning point that inspires Indiana to rethink its entire offensive approach, reshaping the way the Fever maximize their franchise cornerstone moving forward.
And sending them to the line, I think, hurt us. I fouled at the end to put them in the lead at the end. So for me, it was like, that's something we can clean up for sure. And just continuing to play together. I think that's the message for both sides of the court.
Lexi, can you kind of take us through that last shot by Caitlin from your vantage point?
Oh my God. I kid you not, I was holding my breath because from my view, I thought Cody was going to get it. Oh. And then it like slipped through and still holding my breath.
When Jade Melbourne took the risk of jumping the passing lane in pursuit of a game-changing steal, there was no defensive safety net position behind her if the gamble failed. That small but crucial detail highlighted a brilliant tactical adjustment by Indiana, showcasing how aggressive defenses can be manipulated through smart offensive design. It also introduces a fascinating question about the Fever's direction moving forward. Could this be the start of a lasting evolution in their offensive philosophy? Throughout most of the night, Caitlin Clark endured relentless physical play while repeatedly being whistled for fouls that many felt deserved stronger pushback from the coaching staff. The apparent lack of vocal advocacy from the sideline seemed to visibly affect her emotions and add to the mounting frustration she experienced during the game. Yet when everything came down to the final possession, operated within a newly implemented half-court set, Clark immediately appeared poised and in complete control. Great players often find ways to manufacture opportunities for themselves, but elite coaching creates environments where those moments develop naturally and efficiently. What unfolded in those closing seconds may prove to be more than just a dramatic game winner. This single possession could ultimately serve as a turning point that compels Indiana to reevaluate its offensive identity and redesign its playbook around schemes that better maximize the unique talents of its franchise superstar.